Welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending our live streaming chat with the wonderful, the amazing Ian Finelli. And today, Ian's going to be joining us and talking about finding your sketching inspiration. And I think at this time of year, November, it's getting dark, and we've been in quarantine, some of us, for a really long time. It's so helpful to talk to the cheerful and bubbly Ian Finelli and hear about where he gets his sketching inspiration. So if there's anyone in the call who doesn't know Ian, I'll just tell you about Ian right now. Ian's a wonderful, wonderful, tremendously skilled and talented urban sketcher and artist from Hoylake in the UK. And he exhibits in galleries, and he teaches online workshops and travel workshops all around the world. And I know you're going to love meeting Ian Finelli. So let's bring him into this call. There we go. Hi, Ian.
Hi, Brenda. Hi, everybody. Lovely to see you all. Some of your faces just popped up very briefly then, which was great to see. So
really?
quite a few familiar faces, which was lovely.
Did you see faces? How did you see faces?
Yeah, I don't know. I must have some kind of like thing on. I've got this thing on my screen at the moment where I can see everybody's name in lots of little thumbnails. And as they were coming on, their faces popped up. So I saw Karen and Mohan and Jim. Oh, I'm really jealous of Jim because he's been posting some stuff in Saratoga recently and going on about how gorgeous the weather is. And he's been sitting there sipping a beer, drawing, and I'm looking outside my window at the moment and it's pissing down with rain.
Okay. I think that might have something to do with geography. And
I think it's got a lot to do with Miami and Liverpool being slightly different in terms of weather.
Yes. I know,
it looks amazing though. It looks fantastic. I'm so jealous. I need to go and find my inspiration in Miami. I think that's what it is. I need to leave the northwest of England and go off to the south of America and just find some beautiful spots and some lovely bars under palm trees where I can just sketch and maybe meet a few buddies and have a couple of beers together. That would be perfect drawing inspiration, I think.
That sounds great. That sounds great. And James's art is so gorgeous, and he's so talented, a wonderful artist and architect himself. So, and I've interviewed him as well, and he did a fabulous job.
It's just stunning. I love it. I just love how he puts the figures in as well, and how he incorporates the architecture and the figures and the animation that goes on in the sketches. It's just wonderful. It's just great.
Yeah, and he's super
really
dark. Yeah. So we're going to talk today about finding our sketching inspiration. And last week, a few days ago, I talked to Barbara Luell from Belgium. I think she might be on this call, not sure. And she was fabulous. She gave us, we were talking about choosing joy, and she gave us lots of books she recommended to read that also would help us find inspiration. What do you do, Ian, to find sketching inspiration?
That's such a good question. I'm just inspired by the world. You know, just to put it bluntly, the world inspires me. I've always been like that because I've been an artist all my life, and I've spent all my time just drawing the world around me, cityscapes and urban environments, ever since I was a student at college. I think I've always just found inspiration by visiting places and just seeing the world. So whenever I go somewhere, especially somewhere new, I'm just completely overawed by the visual aspect of it, and I just want to draw it and paint it and record it because it's just kind of what I've always done. I've never stopped doing it. So if I go somewhere new for the first time, I just want to draw it and paint it. So kind of what we did when the children were young, when our kids were little, we'd kind of purposely go on kind of like beach holidays to places like the Canaries or the Balearic Islands, where there was just nothing of inspiration for me, because otherwise I would just spend all my holiday time just drawing and painting. So we go to kind of like beach holidays in Menorca where there was nothing apart from sand and a kind of a block apartment building, and I wouldn't draw because that didn't inspire me. But kind of anywhere else we go to, whether it was a city or a town or anywhere else, all I want to do is just kind of draw and make art.
Yeah.
That's just kind of what I've always done. So I just find, Brenda, the world in its visual aspect just so inspiring. I just want to record it.
Yeah.
And if I can tell stories about it and there's something, unique and specific about it, which is kind of talking back to me, then then it's even, it's even better. It's great.
I read somewhere a quote, and I cannot remember who it was, who talked about cultivating curiosity. And I think you are naturally a curious person. You just want to know what's around that next corner, and what's going on over there, and why is that the way it is. But what do you think about that quote?
Well, I think what I feel that I've been drawing the same picture all my life. It's the same picture. I just keep doing it over and over and over again. I mean, the subject in front of me might be slightly different, but my intentions behind wanting to do it has always been the same. And it's basically to kind of orientate myself in a space. And I was doing that in London when I was 18 as a student. I mean, back then I was working on a much bigger scale, and they tended to be oil paintings, but it was still about my relationship to the space around me. And through recording it and through drawing it, you come to terms with it, you understand it, and it makes you feel safe and secure in that space. And that's why I invest so much time in recording the different layers in front of me. So all those different layers of detail that come through, they're important to me because it's a kind of way of coming to terms with that space. And I suppose, yeah, curiosity is a big part of it as well. You want to know what's around the corner. You want to know, what does that sign mean? What is that sign saying? And if you can't see it, you can twist it around.
Yeah.
And you can play with the space as well. You can bring things into that space. So the space is telling a different kind of story. The story is about what you see, what you record, what you feel is kind of important, what the essence is. And all of that is just coming to terms with that space, getting to understand it.
Yeah, yeah. I remember Gabby Campanario, who's the founder of Urban Sketchers, talked about how I've interviewed him several times, and I remember he talked about how when he moved to Seattle, he didn't know the town at all. And so he just went out and just started sketching everything he could see. He just went everywhere and started sketching everything. It was his way of getting to know his new town. And and I think that, there's sort of an adventurousness about artists, right? We want to go out and see what's over there, and record it all.
I think what's interesting for me, if I go back in my kind of like creative history, when I was a student, when I was at college, I'd go outside drawing on location, but it was just a quick sketch, which was kind of in preparation for a larger piece that I would then do back in the studio. When I first started drawing on location, and I was kind of urban sketching, it was just as a means to gather information on location and kind of experience the space that you're in. And then I'd go back in the studio and I'd work on a bigger scale, because the lecturers at college, they wouldn't let us go and work on location all the time, because they just thought we'd end up going to the pub, which we probably would. So they forced us to go outside, draw on location, but we had to be back by a certain time and do most of our work, in the studios. So I was always drawing outside, but it wasn't the end product. It was just a kind of way of gathering information for something else, for something bigger. And it was only really, I suppose, 5 or 6 years ago that I really started doing it outside for good, as a proper full-on piece of work, because the vast majority of my work over the years has probably been studio based, because it's been so big. I mean, I've always worked on a huge big scale, but at the same time, I've always drawn when I've gone on holiday. So when we go away somewhere, as long as it's not just a flat beach and a kind of block apartment, I've always drawn. So when we've had like breaks around Europe, and we've gone to Australia, and we've gone to other parts of the world, I've always taken a sketchbook with me. But that was kind of separate from what I was doing in the studio. And then about 5 or 6 years ago, the two just came together. So kind of my proper full-on work that I really want to do, that I get inspiration from now, is urban sketching. But it's more like making art on location rather than urban sketching. I mean, there's a lot of sketching involved because I'm drawing all the time. But to me, it's more like recording what I see and just layering it with all sorts of different materials. But that is what I do now. That is what I get inspiration from. But it's been a kind of a kind of choppy journey. I've not done it all the time. If I look back on my career, there's been lots of different ways I've gone off in different directions. You know, working with commercial galleries as well, because that forces you to go down a certain route. So for a long time, I was doing these huge, big, textured, really heavily textured watercolor paintings, and I was selling them in galleries. I was selling them to agents. But then when I got into the urban sketching and I started applying watercolor paint to my drawings, it just felt so right. It just felt like everything I'd crafted over the years was just kind of enabling me to do the drawings and paintings that I do now. So I suppose a lot of it is kind of, you know, you stumble across a way of doing something through trying out lots and lots of other things, you know, over the years.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that a lot of people who are in quarantine right now have, you know, they drew their kitchen maybe, and they drew their view off their balcony or whatever, and now it's like, oh, right. And so you know, I would just like to encourage people that that it's a mindset, right? Like, it has to do with your motivation and the way you're thinking about it. And, you know, is any drawing that you make a waste? Is it a waste of time? Can you ever make a drawing and that's just a waste of time because, you know, you're just bored with it or whatever?
I think it's going to vary, isn't it, from person to person, really. I mean, I've you know, abandoned a lot of drawings over the years. I don't really kind of abandon any now, but years ago, I you know, a lot of them would go in the bin because they just weren't working the way I wanted them to work. You know, I probably hadn't quite mastered the technique or the drawing, or sometimes I'd abandon a picture because I'd just chosen the wrong subject. You know, the subject just didn't grab me. I thought it did, but it didn't. And within no time at all, I quite quickly realized that this just wasn't happening for me. There was just no really interesting shapes or colors just going on in the subject. So yeah, I mean, I do abandon pictures, you know, not very often, and nobody ever sees me do it. I'm pretty good at making sure no one's around when I do it. I mean, the thing is, most of the drawings I do now, I'm being watched or filmed, or it's a workshop. So very rarely do I work by myself. And when you are being watched, I suppose you probably try a little bit harder, and you're more careful in picking the subject and picking the location, and you're much more aware of the learning objectives, you know, the things that you are actually trying to develop in the work that other people can learn from. So you make sure you're not really going to set yourself up to make any mistakes, you know. But for example, when I was in Cornwall a couple of months ago, I think there was one or two pictures that I drew which ended up just going in the bin.
I find that hard to believe.
No, seriously, they did. And when I look back, and I don't kind of beat myself up about it, but when I look back and I kind of appraise the reason why, often it's because I'm just tired. Maybe it's the second drawing I've done that day and I'm tired. Or maybe I just picked the wrong, you know, the wrong subject. It just wasn't doing it for me. Or, I mean, there was one particular instance when I started doing a drawing, and after about half an hour, I was desperate for the loo. I mean, it was almost like crying. I was so desperate for the toilet. So I packed everything up, and I had to go and find a toilet. Now, you can imagine what it's like during COVID, you know, trying to find a toilet. They were all shut. So I had to go to a coffee shop and queue up for a coffee, and then ask the guy, could I use his toilet? So by the time I'd had my coffee, it was about half an hour later, and it was in Port Isaac. And I just couldn't be bothered going back up there to finish it off because it was right on top of the hill. So I just abandoned it, and I just went back and sat on the beach with Annette and Elsa and just chilled out for, I think, an hour, and then drove back home again to where we were staying in Mevagissey. So I just kind of abandoned the drawing because I couldn't be bothered going back up.
Yeah, so I think
it's in my sketchbook. It's half finished in my sketchbook, but I just won't finish it now because I've lost it. I've lost the momentum for that particular piece of drawing.
Yeah, I think sometimes it does have to do with energy level, and you know, if you've already done a sketch, you just poured yourself into it, and the idea of doing a second sketch is like, oh my gosh, I don't think I have the energy for another one, because you're, you know, not a kid.
And energy levels are really, really important. You know, they do matter. And if your energy levels are low, then you're not going to put as much into it, and you're not going to think as hard. Because I say to people, one of the things you've got to do on location is, you know, you've got to think really hard about what you're doing. You've got to think about all the layering approaches that are happening, starting off with your big shapes and your colors and your detail, and think about your subject and how you're going to edit it. And all of that takes energy. All that thinking, takes energy. And I think if you're half-hearted about it, or you're not really bothered, you're not going to do yourself justice, and you're not going to do the drawing that you really feel you're able to do.
Right.
So energy levels are important, but that's what's brilliant about going off in a group, because you get energy from other people, don't you?
Yeah.
If you do a workshop, or you're at the symposium, or you're just with a Facebook group, you're energized by those people around you. I mean, I know Karen Jones, a good friend of mine, and she's watching this at the moment. I mean, I've been drawing with Karen hundreds of times, and you just get energy from your friends. I've drawn with Connie, and you're just energized by people around you, because you're inspired by what they're doing, because their vision is different from yours.
Mm-hmm.
They might just choose a different angle, or they have a different style, a different approach, and it's just inspiring to be with other people. So I think if you're gonna be like, if you're gonna mess things up, it's always going to be when you're by yourself.
I think so. Not everyone is able to get out with a group right now in quarantine, and so I was just thinking to myself, a lot of people I've chatted with have kind of stopped drawing. They just aren't doing a lot of drawing right now, and because their motivation is low, their inspiration is low, and I just want to give people a reason to keep drawing, and one very good reason to keep drawing is because otherwise you miss the whole year, and we'll never have 2020 again. And for some of us, I know we're thinking, thank God.
Yeah. That won't be a bad thing.
But this year and everything that happened in this year, we can capture that in our drawings as well, and look back later and say that was quarantine, and this is why I drew, this bucket of pens, because I was in quarantine. And so recording things in your home or around your neighborhood is also valid and valuable, and you will value it later down the road, right? So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, as everybody knows, your drawings are a record of time as well, aren't they? They're a record of the experience that you're drawing under. So I look back on the work I've done this year, and it's not what I planned. I mean, I had all these amazing trips planned all over the world, and they all got cancelled.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to adapt. So the first thing I did was I did a whole series around the house. I did the interior, then I did all the big vehicles. Now I've done lots of online courses where I'm having to work from a photograph. Like, for example, at the moment we're doing the Cornwall urban sketching series. So they're all having to be done from photographs as well. So yeah, I mean, COVID has been, pretty dreadful for everybody. And, we're not quite out of it yet, although the light seems to be appearing at the end of the tunnel, but we're not out of it yet. But, I've been fortunate enough to be able to adapt what I do. And I'm just so looking forward to next year again, because I've missed the people, I've missed the interaction, I've missed the company, I've missed running the workshops. I mean, I'm doing lots of virtual ones, but it's not the same. You want the people around you, and that's how I move forward as well, because I feed off them. I mean, I'm really crafty. They don't. I mean, Connie's going to go mad when she does this now. But what I basically do is I just go around and copy off all the students' work. So when I do my demonstration sketch, I do the first bit, and then I'd say to everybody, right, off you go now, guys. You go and get your bit done. And then as they're doing it, I just come around and I just pinch all their best ideas. Then I put it into the next step, and I show them how to do the next step. And then they do the next step. And then when they're doing the next step, I go around and pinch all the best ones again. So I just stay one step ahead of them, just pinching their ideas, but nobody realizes.
I don't think that's quite true. But anyway, I know, why let a few facts get in the way of a good story, they always say. But anyway, I know you've been a really busy guy, and you've got new online workshops coming out and a new book. And I know you're just dying to tell people about your new online workshops and your new book. So where have you been traveling recently, Ian?
Okay, well, we managed to get down to Cornwall for a family holiday, me, Annette and Elsa. So the three of us went down to Cornwall, and I did loads of sketching down there, which was just brilliant. I mean, this was really finding my inspiration down there, because I'd not been to Cornwall before, but I'd heard a lot about it, about the history of the mines and the smuggling and the fishing industry, and all these beautiful little harbours. So we stayed in a place called Mevagissey, which is just stunning, and we stayed right on the harbour. And one of the questions you asked me before about what do I find inspiring, Brenda? Well, this was just inspiring because all I'm ever looking for is different shapes and different colours. That's all I need, shapes and colours. And this was just full of different shapes and different colours. But then you add that the smells, the smell of the fish and chips and the big fat seagulls that come along and pinchy pasties, and then all the lobster nets, and then all the little things like the ropes and the signage on the boats and the masts. And it's the different shapes, they're different from things that I normally see, because Hoylake's a fishing village, but all the fishing boats have disappeared now. They've all got, they all disappeared, they've all sailed away. So although it's a coastal village where I live, it's not the same as Cornwall, and it was just so inspiring. And we went to Port Isaac, which is where they filmed Doc Martin, and I did loads of sketching there. That's the place where I abandoned one of the sketches. We went to Port Lou, and we went to Polperro. And Polperro was amazing because it's a place I've always wanted to go to, Polperro, because an artist that I was really inspired by when I was at college was called Oscar Kokoschka, and he painted a picture, an oil painting of Polperro, and it was one of my favourite paintings when I was a student, and I always wanted to go back there just because of this painting that he did. And I went there and it didn't disappoint. It's just stunning. So from all those drawings and paintings and things that I did while we were down there on location, I've been able to put together this workshop with yourself. So although I'm working from photographs, I'm doing it all virtually now, all the memory, the knowledge, the experience is all kind of embedded in me as I'm doing it. So as I'm doing a workshop, say for example on Port Lou, and there's lots of the buoys that are hanging on this crate at the back of the lobster boats, they're a big deal. So you make a big thing about them, because in reality, you experience that, you see that, because you're walking around the boat and you're seeing it from different sides, and you're talking to the fishermen and they're explaining to you why these things are so important. So when you see it in the photograph, your knowledge of that experience makes you bring that out so much more. Yeah. And then you can teach that to people. So my inspiration coming from having been there, I can then relay that onto people as I'm teaching the workshops, because I've been there. Right. It's great.
And you have some sketches to show us.
Yeah, I've got a couple here. This is this sketchbook has got the demonstration sketches in. So I'll just hold this one up.
Oh wow. And that is Mevagissey.
That's Mevagissey. So that was right by where we were staying. Okay. So I did a couple of sketches of the boats in the harbour when the tide went out. This is Port Isaac. So that's taken right outside Doc Martin's house, looking back down towards the bay.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, Ian, I just started watching Doc Martin on your recommendation. It's an older show, and I found it, and it really looked exactly like that sketch. Yeah. It's amazing.
And this is Port Lou. This is what I've just been talking about. So there's two fishing boats there. There's Jasmine and Fowie. And Jasmine goes out and catches lobsters, and Fowie, if you pardon the expression, goes off and catches crabs.
Okay.
Don't edit that out.
Okay.
So they're demonstration sketches. They're the sketches I've done as demonstration ones. Then they weren't done on location. They were done from photographs. I've got a confession to make, right? When I draw on location and when I draw from a photograph, you can't really tell the difference.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true.
I wish there was a difference, and I feel like there should be a difference, because I talk so much about the difference between working on location and working from a photograph. And I don't like working from photos. I much prefer to be outside, because I teach the experience of being outside, like Jim would as well. You teach the experience of being in the same three-dimensional space as what you're drawing, and you're bringing things in, you're editing things, you're bringing stuff into the picture. But when I work from a photograph, because I've been there and I've photographed it and I know what's there, I can kind of almost simulate the experience of being there. So when I look on, say, my Instagram feed, and I look at all the pictures that were done on location and all the ones that were done from photos, you can't tell the difference.
No.
I wish you could, but
Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah, it's really true. I've recently, I was looking at your Instagram feed at some of the other sketches you made in Cornwall, and I just thought, you know, you really can't tell the difference. The ones that
can't.
are done in
But
person.
I think that's to do with technique, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's because I'm used to doing it, I suppose, and I know how to build a picture up, and I know how to go searching. I mean, the iPad helps as well. You know, when you've got an iPad and you can zoom and zoom and zoom in, that really helps. And you put your finger on it, you can kind of roam around, can't you? So yeah, that's probably a huge big benefit.
Yeah. So for these 4 online workshops that you created, and here's a little shameless plug, are now available at Studio 56, and we have a set of 4 for $139, or you can register for each one for $39.99, and they're available now. And yeah, so, and you did a fabulous job, Ian. Honestly, there's a lot of joie de vivre that comes out in your teaching. I have to say, you know, when I'm looking at these workshops, I'm thinking, he's so cheerful. Oh my gosh, and he's cracking himself up.
Yeah, honestly, I love what I do. It's a real privilege to be able to do what I do and what other people do as well. You know, it's a great world to be in. The art world, the urban sketching world, the going out and traveling and meeting people and seeing things and just getting inspiration from the world as it presents itself to you. It really is a privilege, and I don't say that lightly. I genuinely, you know, mean that, and that's why I think I enjoy it so much. I mean, sometimes, you know, you've just got to recognize that the moment and the space that you're in and make the most of it, because as 2020 has definitely, you know, taught us, you can't take things for granted. You just don't know what virus is around the corner.
It's so true. It's so true. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't want to take the year off either, because you know we only get so many years, and you want to make the most of every moment, right? And
yeah, you do. Absolutely. Now, I think once we all get ourselves, you know, vaccinated, for those of us that are going to get vaccinated, and once the airports start opening up again and travel starts again, I think people are going to make the most of it and just really appreciate it and enjoy it for what it is. You know, it's going to be a great celebration of urban sketching once it all kicks off again. It's going to be wonderful. I can't wait. I'm going to be right in the thick of it all.
So Ian, you've also been really busy, we both have, in the last couple of months with a brand new exciting project. Would you like to tell people about that?
Okay, well, I've been writing a book, and Brenda has very kindly edited it and published it for me, and it's just come out. I mean, literally yesterday it arrived.
Yeah.
So it's able, you're able to order it now through the Studio 56 website. It's called Layers of Looking, and it's a big book. It's all about what I do. It's about what I do and why I do what I do, and where I find my inspiration from, and what I go looking for, all the shapes and colors and patterns and textures and details that I find really inspiring. And it's divided up into different sections as well. So one of them is about telling stories on location, and one is about, you know, really going deep and finding details within the small things. One's about perspective, one's about color, one's about the use of white space. One's about putting people in, although I don't really put people in.
No, but there is a few. You do now.
Only when I'm drunk in New Orleans.
Well, I think, honestly, people need to see those sketches. They'll see a whole new side. I can flip to it quickly. A whole new side of Ian. And I can't find it. Oh, there we go. With it. No, I can't find it. Anyway, yeah, they'll see a whole new side of Ian, how Ian sketches when he's had a couple of beers. Anyway, there's a quote here on the back of this book, and I'm going to read it out loud, but I also want to show people a flip through of the book so they can just have a look for themselves. And your quote, what you said is, the process begins with the eye, continues with the hand, and concludes with the heart.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful sentiment.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah, I just want to play this little video. so it's 110 pages and it's available at the studio56boutique.com website. Super, fabulous.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'm really excited about that because I've been wanting to write a book for a long time, and it's a great thing to be able to do. You know, as I said before, it's a privilege to be able to do these kind of things, and this year's enabled me to do it, because I think during the time I wrote the book, and obviously I've had amazing support from yourself, I think I missed about 5 trips abroad.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Two trips to America and a trip to Romania and a trip to Oslo and all these places I was meant to go. So instead of going off on these trips and teaching workshops, I thought I'll stay at home and write a book instead.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ian, for chatting with me today and sharing your art and being the bubbly person that you are. That I think that just inspires people as well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And thanks everyone for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed our chat, and I hope that you don't lose this year, but we've got still a few weeks left of 2020, and just want to encourage people to get out and sketch and record what you see in your life, wherever you are, indoors or outdoors if you can, and think positive, and the light's at the end of the tunnel. Yeah.
Can I just say one thing as well, kind of touching on what you just said really beautifully then, Brenda. I mean, the whole reason that we do this, I think, well, we do it for all sorts of different reasons. Obviously, we're all, you know, on a different kind of creative journey. But one of the things that I think that resonates with a lot of people is drawing outside or drawing from a photograph, however you do it. It just enables you to make your mark.
Yeah.
In a really, really basic way, you're just making your mark, aren't you? As we're passing through this life journey, and you know, we spend such a lot of time busy doing things or doing things for other people, that just putting a mark on a piece of paper and turning it into a shape, and then turning that shape into a reference for something that is out there, it just enables you to stop and say, look, this is me, this is what I'm about, this is how I see it. And it doesn't matter, you know, how sophisticated it is or how basic it is. It just enables you to make your mark on this world. And here's my lovely wife bringing a cup of tea for me.
Hello, Annette.
Hello.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, and I think that's just what it's all about, isn't it? It just enables you to say something. Look, this is me. This is what I see, and this is how I want to represent it.
Yeah, and just to get all your emotions on that piece of paper as well, everything that we're feeling.
I do. I mean, that's the main part of my watercolor stage, is getting all those emotions out. You know, there's other things as well, like developing the tone work and you know, expressing some kind of reference to the real color. But essentially, the actual process of putting the paint and the water on the paper is a very kind of emotional, creative outcome. And yeah, it's just kicking back. It's you kicking back against the objective in some ways. Yeah. And having fun on the page.
Yeah, really important. So thank you everybody for tuning in. We're probably not going to have another live streaming chat until the new year. And so I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. I don't know what I'm missing.
Can I wish everyone Happy Christmas as well, and roll on 2021. We'll all catch up again next year, guys, on what a party it's going to be. What a party.
That's right. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Take care. We'll see you soon.